Hey, what's up? It's Jake, and today I want to go over break and continue statements. So let's go ahead and get started. Sometimes, depending on what you're doing, you'll need to alter the regular flow of a loop. Up until this point, we've just kind of been iterating through a loop in its entirety. And you can actually skip a single iteration as many times as you want, or break out of the loop entirely. A common use case for skipping iterations is like when you're iterating over a list. And you need to work on each of them only if some condition has been verified. Also, if you're iterating over a collection and you found one of them satisfies some need you have, you may decide not to continue the loop entirely and just break out of it altogether. There's a lot of different scenarios, so we'll just take a look at an example and see what this looks like. So let's say you want to apply a discount. Okay, so we're going to just make a little discount app here, or discount script. And we're going to apply a 20% discount to all products in a basket list for those that have an expiration date of today. So the way you do this is you'd use a continue statement, which tells a looping construct like a for or while loop to stop the execution body, whatever's inside of that loop, immediately and go on to the next iteration, if there is any. This example would take us a little deeper down the rabbit hole, so get ready to buckle up. So I'm going to use datetime again. From datetime import, I'm going to use date, but I'm also going to use something that we haven't used a lot, which is time delta. I briefly discussed this, but now you're going to get to see it in action. So let me set today as date.today, and that'll give us the actual day. And then tomorrow would just be today, right? Plus the time delta of days equals 1. Okay. So what this really is today plus 1 day, right, equals tomorrow. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. Let me put these next to each other. So now let's say I want to make some products. And my products, I'm going to make a list. Now, up until the point you see me make a list like this, right? But you can actually make this a little bit more readable when you have multiple items, multiple objects, or elements of a list that are themselves a set of data. And we do this by just hitting enter and breaking it up like this. So in this case, I'm going to create a string skew with a value of 1, okay? And then that's going to be the first object in this element. So we're in element 0 still. And then I'm also going to create an expiration underscore date of today. And then lastly, I'll make a price of 100. And then that's my first element. So that's element 0. And element 0 inside of it has 3 objects, each of which are a sequence of elements as well. So then I'm going to make a second product with a skew, and we'll call this 2, and then give this an expiration date of tomorrow, and a price of, let's say, 50. And I can just leave it as a number. And then I'll make a third with a skew of 3 and expiration date of today and a price of 20. So this is how I would create a list of products where each element in that list is a set of data that has multiple properties. Okay, so now I can create a for loop and say for product in products, products. And what do we want to do here? Let's say if product expiration date is not equal to, we haven't used that yet, so bang or exclamation point equals means not equals, is not equal today, okay? And actually, this goes here. So if this particular element does not equal today, then we need to do something, right? Well, we're going to continue. So we're going to continue through. And we'll say product price. Man, somebody buy me a typing lesson. Okay, product price times equals, okay, which means just take the value and multiply it by 80%, which would be 20% less than 1, right? So that would be equivalent to applying a 20% discount, okay? And then we just simply want to print out, and you can also break this up like this, and say, what do we want to print? Price for SKU, and then we'll just return the product SKU, product SKU, yeah, and then say is now, comma, product price. That looks right. Yeah. And this, and you can put this on the end here if you wanted to. I'm just gonna leave it open, it's easier to see. So let's go back over this. So for each product in here, so for product and products, if the product's expiration date is not equal to today, it's going to continue going through this. And why is that? Well, because we only want to look for things with an expiration date of today. So if you're not today, then do a discount, because we said we wanted to apply a 20% discount to all products for those that have an expiration date of today, or whatever, however you want to do it, not today. So in this case, what we're going to do is say, if this doesn't equal today, so if it's tomorrow, then continue through the loop. If it is today, right, then it's going to apply this discount. So what does that mean? It means that for product and product, see how this all lines up here? It's going to just continue. So it's not going to do the rest of this. So let's take a look, save this, and take a look and see what this looks like. So if I say, what am I in? Python scripts, Python break. Price for SKU 1 is now 80. Price for SKU 3 is now 16. All right, so what happened? So it gave a discount on everything that was today. So it said product is not today would be SKU 2. It said continue. So it didn't do this and it didn't do this, which means that it will continue through. It skips 2 and continues the for loop and goes to SKU 3. Now, if I had put break, it would have just broken out of here altogether, and after it found the first one, it would have just stopped, and it wouldn't have gone any further. But in this case, we can see since it found it in SKU 2, it did SKU 1, found SKU 2, said, oh, that's not true, and instead of stopping, it went ahead and read SKU 3 as well, and that's what continue does. So, it's not really important where in the body you put the continue statement. You can even use it more than once. But when you reach it, execution stops and goes back to the next iteration, as we saw with SKU 3. So now let's do an example where, and I'm going to rename this to continue, and then I'm going to make a new one called break.py. We're going to get there eventually. Okay, so let's say we want to break out of the loop. Okay, we want to tell whether at least one of the elements in the list evaluates to true. So when we feed it the Boolean function, right, true or false, so given we need to know whether there is at least one when we find it. We don't need to keep scanning the list any further. In Python code, this translates to using the break statement, and we'll show you what that looks like. So let's say look for any. We don't want to know how many, we just want to go, is there any, right? So we're going to make a list called items, And in there, I'm going to have 0, none, 0.0, true, 0, and 7. Very interesting list, I know. Okay, so now we're going to say found is false. And what this is this is called a flag. Okay. And it's also worth noting here that true and 7 evaluate to true. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to say for item in items, let me make a for loop. I'm going to print out scanning item as a string, and then I'm going to list the item that I'm scanning. And then I'm going to say if that item found equals true, okay, which is, we're going to update the flag, right? So if item, basically saying if this exists, then found is true. So it starts out as found is false. So we're calling this a flag because we're saying, okay, we don't know that there's anything in here that's true. So we're going to set found to false, and we're just going to iterate through this with a for loop and say, okay, we're scanning this item. So we're going to scan item 0. If item, so is this, if it's an item, which it is, found equals true, then in this case, that is found, and we can say, go ahead and break, just stop looking altogether. And then after that, it breaks out, it will say, if found, we're going to print at least one item evaluates to true. Okay, and this is just, we are going to inspect the flag. Okay. If not, then we'll say else print all items evaluate to false. Something like that. So let's take a look at this real quick. Python break scanning item 0, scanning item none, scanning item 0, 0, scanning item true, and it gets to true, and it says at least one item evaluates to true. So in this code, we made use of a really common programming pattern. You set up a flag variable before starting the inspection of the items. And if you find an element that matches your criteria, in this example, something evaluates to true, you update the flag and then you stop iterating. After iteration, you inspect the flag and take according actionly. So now that it broke out, we inspect that item. So we found it, right? So that's how we would do that. And the execution here stopped after true was found, right? So the break statement acts exactly like the continue statement in that it stops executing the body immediately, but it also prevents any further iterations from running, effectively breaking out of the loop. The continue and break statements can be used together with no limitation in their numbers, and you can use it in a for loop or a while loop. So I know the difference between continue would have kept looking and been like, okay, 0 is not true, and it would say 7 is true, and then you would have had 2 things that were true. So continue would evaluate the rest of the elements in this list or in this sequence, and break stops it immediately when it finds when it finds one thing. So that is essentially how you use continue and break statements. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if not, then have fun.